Hi everybody, today I'm here with Anna-Louise Haigh. We have known each other, we've just been discussing 14 years. And it's interesting because every time I connect with Anna-Louise, there's always a change about to take place, either for me or for her. And this is a change for both of us joining together in this journey. So as you grow, you connect with a calling. When did you realize that the calling you're on now was your calling?
Well, first of all, Shauna, thank you for having me here. And you couldn't be more right in saying that a big change is happening. And maybe we'll get a chance to cover that. But for me, my life has been one constant calling in many variations. And I would say that the calling is basically about authenticity and self-awareness and what I would call these days a soulistic consciousness. And Soulistic consciousness to me is all about the synergy, the power of the synergy between the mind energy, the body, the heart, and the soul. So it's more than just holistic. It is truly into the four core levels of beingness. And I would say that I had my first awareness of that when I was seriously in my early adolescence, at a time when life was really quite turbulent. My parents were getting divorced. There was a lot of unpleasantness and quite a lot of stuff that people talk about openly these days, but just wasn't talked about back then, that was going on. And it was a case of somehow in my sense of self, even being 10 years old, a more mature place sort of said, okay, what makes people behave the way they're doing? What makes all this happen around? And as a young person, I didn't have the intelligence for the answers. I didn't have the vocabulary, but I learned to trust the feelings and the voice, that the empowerment voice that came through me. And that's when I started to realize that I wasn't alone in my journey, and that what I'd experienced all my childhood, ever since I was a very young child, hadn't been childish whim. It had been me being very well hosted and connected. And as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've gone down my career path, that has taken on many shapes and forms and many identities in terms of the roles I've played. But the constant thread is the authenticity, the groundedness, and yet the connection to be the messenger, if you like, the world that I work in.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I can really connect with what you said there, all of it, but the groundedness, because when I met Anna-Louise initially, when she was at the end of her career in teaching reflexology, and one of the things that I always was in those sessions was grounded, because I had to be, because you commanded grounding. You naturally command it.
Yeah.
And it just brings out the best in people. That's one of the things that you do. You bring out the qualities that just are hiding because people are so busy out there and not focused on where they need to be. And the way that you command grounding, just immediately like whoop, right down to the floor and the roots of the earth, and
Yeah,
there, and people are there with you.
yeah, that's true. And teaching reflexology, what could be more grounded than working on the feet? And the thing is, I kind of work on my balloon principle, or my kite principle, whichever you want to think of it. And that is, you can have the most beautiful, let's say a kite, and you can have this most beautiful kite that you've made, and you really want to see it soar, but it's nothing without having somebody to hold the string so that it has an anchor point to pull against. And when I'm working with clients and students, I create that opportunity for them to be the kite so they can soar really, really high. But because we have a grounded foundation, they know they can come back to a safe, sacred place and still be able to get on in the world. And to me, that's part of the Soulistic Consciousness. It's the mind part that brings people to that sense of centeredness and focus and connectivity with people around them. So nobody has to be isolated by being on their personal journey, but they can soar. They can be up there being just playing in the ether, and yet they know they've got an attachment to what they need to be doing when they get back home, type thing. So I do like to instill that in all the work I do, because that then enables people to be the master of their own moments and how far they fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then, when you were grounding people, there was healing happening all around, not just because of the reflexology we were learning, but because of the groundedness you brought in. Healing was naturally taking place in everybody that was around. And I know for me, it was one of the most turbulent times of my life, actually.
I remember.
Yeah. And to have that groundedness, it was a feeling of safety, actually, that you gave. And I'm sure in all the work you do, that is one of the things that you do, give that feeling of safety all the time. But what are the typical transformations through that you achieve with people?
Well, the thing is, I love seeing people soar, seeing them blossom, see them transform, emerge, whatever you'd like to call it. And since I stopped teaching reflexology 15 years ago now, so it's a very long time that it is actually a super long time that we've known each other, I think perhaps more than 14 years.
Yeah.
The kind of transformations that I really am passionate about delivering are ones where people are imbued with self-awareness and self-knowing, and at the same time they then are able to be the master of their own mindset, so that they can make their own decisions from an informed self-knowing position. So their transformations might be very similar to somebody else's who's receiving coaching or counseling or some other form of instruction. But what I like to infuse the people I work with, whether it's a client, a one-to-one, or whether it's on a retreat or on my online courses, I want to give them these tools and skills so they can actually continue to be the master of their destiny. So I'm not doing it for them. I'm not telling them how to do it. I will guide, I will support, I'll give suggestions, but it's about the tools so that they can continually serve themselves from a really strong place of strength. So I see people who've got terminal illness, and the transformation there is actually sometimes a transition. And it's about approaching that with grace and dignity and without fear. It's about also the transformations are from relationships, which can be another form of dying off to the old self in a relationship and embarking on a new self. So in my work, it's moving from one stage of life to another. And I suppose whether it's a transcendence, a dying, a passing, or a relationship ending, or needing to move from one state of ill health into a better state of health, or the full self-empowerment, self-knowing side, it's all about endings and beginnings. And I love to see the seeds of new beginnings being sown, and then give people the tools to cultivate that garden of their souls so they can continue to grow themselves and make good choices that are right for them on their path, and at the same time continue to learn and grow. So I'm a bit like a gardener to the soul, I suppose. I suppose that's one way of looking at it.
Oh, an awesome description.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. Because what you say there, cultivation of the self is crucial, and it's something that not many instinctively do.
No.
because they're too busy trying to fit in. And actually, it's that uniqueness of cultivating the self and discovering your unique aspect that makes your life simple.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, we are so caught up, and it's nobody's fault or anything, but we are so entrenched in illusion, you know, must have, should do's, must buy, and about comparison and scarcity and this and that. And takes up so much time and energy, and breeds so much unhappiness and unsettlement and depression and anxiety and poor decision making based on fear. And exactly what you said there, Shona, you know, when people get into the self-knowing matrix of themselves, when they discover that magical mix that they're searching for outside themselves has been inside themselves all the time, and more than they could ever imagine, life does click and it becomes simpler. Because you know your values, you know what makes you tick, you know what your purpose is, you're free to be able to make good choices and adapt and grow. And also you release the burdensome task of continually feeling guilt or shame or blame or anxiety or anger or whatever it is, and being robbed of your joy every moment that you feel any of those emotions. So for me, it's about helping people define their authentic self, so that they can understand when the illusions or the time bandits or the ego bandits are coming to call, and they can step back into their power and stand in their power, so that they really are very much the master of their moments, the master of their mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of, yes, the master of your life and its flow, and everything is such an important part of beingness.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, and actually, you know, as you know yourself, you learn as well that less is more. And you know, it's like when you, as the humanness and everything drops away and all of that, and you really go deep into the core, and you look for yourself, you know who you are, you're in your power, but there's nothing, and yet there's everything.
Yes, definitely. And it's so needed right now. You know, I see that for the work I do, I work primarily with women, and the essence of empowerment that's rising up, not as a force against the masculine, but as a time to harmonize within the masculine, female, feminine divinity that's available to us in this birthright. I see that, you know, women are in a place that they've never been in before, not in our living memory, where they can actually discover their own voice, and at the same time honor their vulnerabilities, and their strength sometimes is in the vulnerability, and being able to say, look, I do need help, but I'm very capable in this part. And it's just very much a case of helping people hear that voice from within. And that's, again, the work I do is about self-knowing, self-honoring. One of the things I find, particularly working with women, is that they, when we try and make some shifts, when the tools are given to make some shifts, the first thing they say is, well, oh, I don't want to be selfish. And that's a really big program we've got running. And that part of consciousness is so limiting. It is so debilitating, and it's a power game within yourself, I feel. So I like to flip that, and instead of calling it being selfish, I call standing in your power and being able to speak your truth with kindness and compassion is called self-honoring. And when you honor yourself, it means that you're honoring the people around you as well, but you're giving your voice in a way that is compassionate, it's kind, it's loving, it's good for everybody. And by being able to speak your truth, you are in fact doing other people a good turn, because you're actually giving them the opportunity to figure out how resourceful they are, or to learn that they don't need to rely on you, or they can actually take the example of being self-honoring as well. And when we all do that, then we are all going to work for one collective good, which is joy, happiness, and freedom. So, you know, it's a bit of a pebble in a pond kind of thing. It's a bit of a, I'll be the pebble, let's see where the ripples go. And I just love casting pebbles in amongst the people I work with and seeing them ripple, because it's going to get there one day. Everybody's going to be in this beautiful ripple of just higher consciousness, which will take us further. And what we're doing here and your whole summit is all about, yes, of course, raising that consciousness, but also about being the pebble throwers, if you like, I guess, giving everybody a pebble and saying, right, let's see how many ripples, see how many ripples you can cast with this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, what a wonderful description. Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, I was just, you know, thinking about how every time we connect, we're always on a transition. And I remember one of the things, you haven't done it, but I remember one of the things that you were talking about was because you connected with your higher self, shall we say, and you were thinking at one point of changing your name as part of your transition.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's now talk about all your little transformations and where you're going with those.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a bit of a one, really. It goes back to that turbulent time in my childhood, when I don't know, maybe I just thought every kid did this, that they just didn't like their name and they tried to give themselves another name, and I did that. And having a double-barreled first name was always just the perfect target for ridicule and attention, and it was. But the name I gave myself was Chris, and it was Kris. And I scribbled it on my pencil case, and I was starting to weave it in at school, and my friends would call me Chris and all this stuff. And I was really feeling like I was standing in my power. I'd stepped out of all the rubbish that was going on with the Anna-Louise person, and I was actually feeling really comfortable and in my total true self. And I was rocking it. I was absolutely rocking it. And then my mom kind of saw this, and it was just an unpleasant day when that happened. And that kind of shut that down right there. So it's like, okay, there's part of me that just got completely dishonored, basically, and sabotaged. And it wasn't until about 12 years later, I was on a very intensive light body awakening course, a 2-year program. And our last meditation was all about meeting your past life self. And I saw myself from the rear view, standing in white, in an Egyptian setting. And it was as though I was quite high up on a temple. And it was very much the case of sort of a prophet, priestess kind of thing going on. And the name I was given was Chrysaea. And that just felt really right to me. And then when I thought back over my childhood memory, I thought, my goodness, there was the Chris again. And when I came to write my first book, The Soul Whisperer, I was very much writing it with that energy running through me, the deep wisdom, ancestral or ancient energy running through me. And one of the things I wanted to honor with that is because it really fitted with the book. And that is a surname that's gone out of my family's history now, and that is of Messenger. So the name I was undertaking was Chrysaea Messenger. And I have never formally put it out there. I did put it on my co-title of my book. I did actually have a Native American naming ceremony in California when I was studying with a really eminent teacher out there some years ago, about 8-10 years ago. And that really brought her to life in me, really anchored her, grounded her. And whenever I am writing now and I set into my meditative space, because I do a lot of meditation, I teach meditation, and I teach people to teach meditation, that is really an energy I feel enveloping me. And so that is something, it's like having your best friend who really knows you well and you don't have to say anything to each other. It is so comforting and at the same time full of wisdom. and those nudges when I need it most. So yes, that was the name I was going to, that's where it came from. Not a lot of people know that, but now you guys do. But yeah, that's I do toy with the idea every now and again of changing it formally, but you never know. You never know. You might see a Cresea Facebook page come up every now and again.
Yeah, but it's just nice to have that connection as well, and just to honor it as
yeah, brilliant. It is. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. And you know, I really feel blessed with the work I do. And really, certainly, it's all focused around, you know, awakening your wow. And to me, your wow is many things. And you know, it could be a weaver of wisdom, which is your soul, which is, you know, a perfect example. But also, it's about wellness, oneness, and wholeness. And that, to me, is the bigger picture of what I offer, because of my background in therapies as a therapist, and also the spiritual side of who I am and what I do. So to me, your wow is you on your best day ever, standing on that mountaintop. And my job is to show you the path, but your job's to climb it. And that's how I go about things.
Fabulous.
Yes.
So all these wonderful transformations that you create, you know, on a daily basis with all the people that can see. How do you constantly achieve the transformations that you create?
Oh, well, every day's different. And that's what I love about it. Absolutely love the fact that every day is different. So in any one day, I may be working with somebody on a one-to-one like this, on a Zoom call or live. So I do quite a lot of mentoring, and I've done that for many, many years since my books came out. But also I use the internet an awful lot to reach a wider audience, again, being that pebble with more ripples. So I've got my online practitioner skills programs. So I train well-being professionals in advanced modalities so they can grow their businesses. So that helps them transform themselves. But at the same time, in gaining those extra skills, they actually then can make better lasting transformations for their clients. So it's a truly win-win situation. And for my audience, that's what I call wisdom seekers, who are people who are on their awakening journey. Then one of the things I love to do is the one-to-one mentoring, and also I'm developing more and more online workshops. But my membership hub, my membership community, is where I love to connect with them and give regular nuggets to help them move forward, know themselves, grow themselves, meditations each month. So that actually brings a sense of community, so they're not alone, so that if they hit a stumbling point along their journey, there's someone to help. And I never had that. It was all a case of, you know, hold on, we're on for the ride, figure it out as you go, trust what's around you, learn to discard what you can't trust. But that was my path. And it served me well. It was really hard, but it was served me well. But along the way, I now see people who can shortcut their drama journey and get so much better into their gold by having the support and guidance that my membership site and the workshops and such I do. So it's really about, for me, it's about taking what's turned out to be 30 years worth of experience in the wellness and personal spiritual development field, harnessing the gold nuggets of that and putting it out in ways that are suitable for the modern audience in a digital age, and women who want to know and grow themselves so that they can actually get on with the life they were born to live. And I love doing that through the various ways I mentioned. And I love teaching retreats. I love teaching retreats in the Yorkshire Dales and in Glastonbury. So, and other fabulous places I've got in mind coming up in the next few years. So that's me. That's what I do.
Do tell. Where are you traveling to?
Well, I've run retreats in Glastonbury for a long time. And next year I'm running them in the Yorkshire Dales. And what I want to do is start to run them in other places such as Greece and Portugal. I have invitations to go to France, and I would love to go back to Canada, rural Canada, and take a group there for a really grounded but spiritual experience. So I'm open to invitations. So I will happily bring myself and my program and all I can offer wherever the invitation will will take me.
Well, New Zealand is obviously a must.
Yes, New Zealand's a very good idea. I think that'd be perfect. Yes, I accept. Thank you.
Yay! We all look forward to that one.
We'll all shout about it.
Yeah, we will.
Good.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, spreading those wonderful wings far and wide. God, that's wonderful. You know, that's the ripple effect, isn't it? You know, you start one and they just go out, and that's really what this is about here. It's that space where all the ripples, where everybody that is creating the ripples comes together until the ripples get larger, faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely the best part, isn't it? They get larger, faster, so they reach further.
Yes.
You know, and back in the day when you and I first met, and certainly when I first started training, doing teaching, I remember the days of being called a witch and having stuff thrown at me, losing friends, and really being kind of isolated and alienated and dropped off the shelf.
Yeah.
By so many people and so many situations in life. And that just doesn't happen now, thank goodness. But I still have people who come to me. In fact, I've got clients now who I'm getting to meet their great-grandchildren. And that doesn't make me feel old at all. Much. But, you know, it's just, it is that ripple. And the thing is, I really, truly believe that when we impact somebody at a deep core soul level, we are changing their soul's matrix, their internal spiritual DNA. And when that ripples down through the generations it ripples to are already born knowing, born ready to take leaps and jumps rather than stumbles and crawls. And this is what those of us who've been doing this a good while have been doing for others. And I love the fact that we've got this kind of platform to be able to let people know that maybe they already have what they need more near the surface than perhaps they're realizing, if they've known people along the way or family members who have done the spiritual journey, have embarked on it. For a lot of people who are awakening up, they think it has to be hard and long. It can be if you choose. But look around you and look who's in your heritage and who's in your lineage, and look who's in your circles, and accelerate, because the world needs you. That's so true of what I feel is happening and what needs to happen now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is absolutely true. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I basically had a divine kick up the bum to create this space. And why we're all coming together so beautifully and putting ourselves out there so beautifully. Yeah, and you know, I always have, but I'm going to say it again anyway. I honour you, Anna-Louise, and all that you are. And you know, when we met, it was the strength that you have, the courage that you have, the ability to command that you have, and as well the deep love that you have with it. It's it's something that I was always struck by, and it's probably, even though we've been going like this through the years, we've always been connected. And you know, things that you've been saying here, you know, about the tough times and the youth, and still clinging to your knowingness of who you are and allowing it to come out regardless of others. You know, it's the misfits, the square pegs.
Yep.
Are the ones that are the ripple creators, I mean, bring the changes. And you know, it's just been absolutely wonderful to share this space with you and hear you put yourself out there so beautifully, as you always do. And you know, if people watching want to connect with Anna-Louise, she'll look forward to seeing you, and you can connect with her website and details to personally contact her from itsatoughworldouthere.com. And Anna-Louise, is there anything else that you wish to add to finish?
Well, wow, thank you so much, Shona. And you know, you said right at the beginning that we always tend to meet when we've got, you know, we're both on the cusp of making new transformations, and that certainly is where my year's heading. So because I know I've got so much more coming up this coming year, and I just love the fact that we have connected again, and it's beautiful to be part of the summit and to meet the people within the summit. And I think just really what I want to say is that gratitude goes an awful long way. And I think that's one of the biggest ripples we can ever give in our lives, because, you know, the words thank you open a different part of our hearts and let the joy come out. And thank you.
Thank you.